All right, what is going on, guys? We are back again, the Professor IllWill X Tyler Wellness Podcast.
Oh yeah, we're here to get well, get swell, and make ourselves a priority.
Go again. It's like I can't do a dragon spot, so I just never tried it at all.
Mm.
But uh, a lot of these complex movements are agility ladders. That's something that's very frustrating for adults. I see
Oh yeah.
they've never gone down this path of how do you put your feet where you want them to be, or how do you move in a certain pattern. It can be frustrating, but you know, practice it, build that base, get the volume, hand-eye coordination increases.
hmm When it comes to the savage life, I feel like a lot of us and individuals nowadays have that mindset of grind mentality. You got to always be doing something all the time, always active, and that's what work is. But in reality, oftentimes the rest is part of the work.
True.
And part of the transition is recognizing that we may be working super hard towards a specific goal, but you don't have to work as hard if we work smarter. And so it's just shifting from working hard to working smart. And I went from doing a whole lot of working hard. And like we had that phase when we were even working out, say, with Spencer, and he was telling us how he went from overworking himself to now finding that there's the rest is necessary and stuff like that. So I think it's super necessary to go through a specific phase in which you may feel that you are going through a hard series of work. So then you can come to that self realization for yourself and recognize that there's maybe a smarter way to go about what you're doing.
True. Yeah, that was one of my things. One of my mentors had told me was like, uh, you want to work hard, but you only want to work hard to a certain point. You don't want to work so hard to the point of where it's like self-defeating, or where it's like you hate yourself because of how hard that you're working, that you're not willing to work smarter,
Mm.
and thus being able to do more with less. Uh, in business, that's the thing, is like you want to work hard as you can with as least amount of resources that you can use. But once you get to a certain point where you work hard, you can secure those resources. You want to use those resources to deploy those resources for you, as opposed to you being the sole person doing it. Like, say, in the realm of like entrepreneurship, if you were starting a business, you could go out and do as much work as you could on your own. But once it got to a point of where, say, like, all right, I can make more revenue by actually hiring someone to do these smaller tasks that maybe don't generate as much income, and then I can use that time that I'm not doing that task to go do something that produces a lot of income.
Mhm. The delegation part, and that's a hard part of growth often is letting go of what we're used to experience the next level. And when it comes to business, it is like that solopreneurship. You're doing everything. You feel super important because you're doing everything, even if it's a Staples run. And then all of a sudden now you get to that point where you're saying like, oh, the Staples run is technically you could hire someone and they're going to do it for like, 17 to $20 an hour. And then you can close a deal that's going to make you a couple $100,000 depending on what the deal is. And so that $20 Staples trip costs you 1980 if it's a $2,000 transaction versus just hiring someone to go take care of it. And heck, even when it comes to our like fitness and nutrition, it's like that 80-20% rule. 80% of the results come from 20% of the work. And often we'll do a lot of the extra small things and we're working so hard on the 80%. And the 20% was producing all of the stuff and we're fixated on the 80. In reality, if we just did the 20% very well, the 80 will fall into place.
Very true. Yeah, that comes into play, where it's like people are going to the gym nonstop, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, maybe 2 hour workouts, maybe 2 a day workouts, and they're very disciplined, but they're not maintaining or, controlling the smaller intricacies that could be yielding them a bigger result, like maybe adhering to a meal plan, sure that they're in a calorie deficit. If their goal is to lose body fat percentage, or to lose body fat, or to gain muscle mass, making sure that they're eating enough protein, making sure that they're eating enough calories, making sure that they're resting enough. And while the discipline path, waking up at 4 a.m., getting to the gym on time, working out very hard, um, it's very disciplined and it's very savage and fun
Hmm.
out there getting to work. Whereas a lot of the results may be actually be spent in spending more time indoors cooking meals, meal prepping, and doing kind of like softer, more relaxing things, quote unquote, cleaning for exercise and things like that, and tracking your calories and looking at uh, numbers and crunching numbers and making sure that your numbers are adding up correctly, which can be seen as more like restorative or boring. But implementing more strategy, that 20%, oh, tracking your calories, meal prepping, sleeping, resting enough, maybe just getting more steps, getting more active is actually going to get you more results than pounding away at the gym um, without that strategy in play.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like how you put it as like the soft skills. In a sense, it's almost like if we're talking in terms of like energy, the masculine energy is that stronger, more dominant work, push, put forth this effort. And then the feminine energy is like the intricate details that have to be taken care of so the whole thing works. And so you can't have this whole final product without both. And so often, if you're hitting your goals with this dominant masculine energy and you're not balancing a feminine energy into it of the soft skills, you're going to be overbalanced in one and may even injure yourself.
That's a good way to look at it as well. Yeah, that's kind of like the divide between the masculine and the feminine. In masculinity, we're often taught, stay hard, work really hard, push through the pain, push through the suffering. Um, but if you're not doing that strategically, implementing more of that softer, maybe feminine side of more critical thinking strategy, uh, that also comes into play, thinking more relaxed style integrated with it, then you're heading towards burnout, overworking yourself, maybe just hammering away at a screw that is supposed to be using like a screwdriver.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Great analogy.
that cog into that spot where it's just not going to fit using brute force. It only works for so long.
That's a good analogy again. Like, and that also goes towards just like the terminology of the challenge ahead of you. Are you using the right tools to tackle it? Right? If you're hitting that goal with a hammer and it needs a screwdriver, like that goal could be basically, heck, if it's weight loss and stuff, and you're tackling the goal by doing a lot of heavy workouts, but you're not doing the screwdriver part of the nutrition, just like the small little details there. And so it works so intricately with a whole bunch of goals, no matter what pocket of wellness it goes into. Um, and also with that too, I want to say I've recognized like when you do have that overly balanced or overly unbalanced, like masculine dominant energy in that, um, it may come from a place of like not necessarily self-compassion, but maybe you're doing this to almost punish yourself. You're working this hard because you feel that you have to, because you're maybe unworthy of gaining a result from working less than this. Or like, I have to work this hard because I'm unworthy of having XYZ, or whatever reason, but you don't have that self-compassion to say I'm doing enough. If I just do this, I have to do all this other stuff.
Yeah, kind of being masochistic with it, self punishment, pushing yourself way past the limit that's really necessary for you to achieve a result, just because maybe that's what your mentors are telling you, or maybe that's what your friends and society thinks that you should be doing. Um, you don't work harder, nobody cares.
Uh,
Um, but you should care enough to say, hey, I care about myself maybe right now instead of getting up and doing this uh, super hard workout routine. What I actually need is some rest and recovery, maybe some stretching, maybe some light walking, maybe tapping into more strategy. Maybe push isn't always the best strategy to get you further.
Absolutely. I agree. With that, like knowing that push might not be, and you just need balance. And all of it is a bunch of like, we are testing things with our own lives, and then we're getting feedback from those tests actively. And as you're getting the test, you're also tweaking the test. So it's like, okay, so this is the feedback that I'm getting now. Do I want more of this type of feedback? If I do, what actions did I do that got me this? And let's keep doing this. If I don't, what can I do differently to then get me a different action? And then so it's just a constant, like, levers are getting pulled and we're balancing things all the time. So whether your workouts be like, all right, well, in the beginning, I worked extra hard because maybe you had to put on extra muscle. So you come in and build a foundation of strength first and like functional movements and then develop the strength. So there was a lot of work that had to go in the beginning, but now that you're there, it's just maintenance and you don't have to work as hard anymore. So it's like, that's the same way for a lot of the goals. If you're building up a business, there's a lot of work that has to go in the beginning, whether it be you're getting your business bank account and your LLCs, and then just figuring out like, are you doing the LSDs of business, lead gen, sales, and deliverables? Are you doing the lead gen? Are you doing the sales? Are you doing the deliverables? What are the parts? How then are you going to fill those pockets? But like everything up front is a lot. Over time, it becomes less and less and less. So you got to work hard in the beginning, and then your work becomes easier over time. If it stays that massive amount of work, there's something that's missing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was kind of one of my business mentors. He put that to me. It was like, yo, if you're stupid, you're gonna have to work really hard. And it kind of hit me because it was in a spot in my life where it was like I was working very hard, and it was like, yeah, he's right. I'm stupid. I'm working really hard, and it's like, yeah, if you're working, it's not like if you are stupid, you're working hard.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're stupid, you're gonna have to work really hard. But once you get smart, you can work less hard.
Mhm.
It's hard if you're smart.
Mhm.
You know. So you might be put in that position where you're working really hard, maybe two jobs. Doing that is not a bad thing to do initially. You might need that brute force initially, but once you start, getting more money, hopefully you'll be able to use that money to think smarter and not require as much money for you. Maybe you can outsource some of these things that you're doing.
Mhm.
Instead of going to the gym 2 times per day, every single day, and then come months later, there's no result other than you've been super tired. You haven't really developed your physique. Maybe we can balance that and think, okay, I've got the discipline to go to the gym. Maybe I just need to instill that discipline into other areas of life, like tracking my calories, tracking my nutrients, making sure that I'm resting enough. Maybe I need to be disciplined about getting into bed at 9 o'clock, and sleeping and resting more so that I'm recovered enough to get the results that I want.
Absolutely. That's killer,
Yeah.
killer perspectives to put it in too.
Yeah. You can also take discipline to do more restorative practices like resting. You may have to be disciplined to do the softer things like resting, meditating, journaling, strategizing, making business plans, and things like that. Doesn't always require go, go, go. Um, yeah.
Is the big thing on that because I like that. As because being human, we develop ego. Ego is how we navigate our life. We're like, based on who I've been and the actions that I've done, this is the character that I play in this life, and this is who people expect me to be. So we develop ego. And then because of ego, maybe your ego was, I work super hard in the gym and I don't stretch and I do these things, right? So you develop this identity. changing that identity when you know it's healthier for you, like now adding in that extra stretching and mobility without losing identity is the challenge. How would you recommend someone go from this now version of their ego that they built to then incorporating these new habits without feeling that ego death in a sense?
I think it's really just you got to change the perspective about how you're thinking about it. Yeah, what did you just say there?
Essentially, yeah, yeah. And I got you.
Yeah, I lost it.
I'll kind of rephrase it too. Basically, because we create identity and ego, this identity of how we operate is subconscious and is how we go amongst our life, right? So, how do we change and incorporate these new habits, knowing that as we do so, the people that we're around, right, they're going to judge you differently. They're going to think different things because you're not this person normally. You don't stretch. You don't do this. You don't exercise. You don't, whatever the narrative may be. Now you're switching it up and you're changing, right? And so, how would someone now navigate this new change of ego and without like, or not even without, but essentially they're changing their identity
Right.
in this environment?
Yeah, I think it relates to, self awareness. Um, Maybe you've gotten to a point, like for me personally, it's like, all right, lifting weights is great. I'm strong. I can do it. I've proven that to myself. But I also noticed that my muscles get very stiff and tight, and that my body holds a lot of tension if I just pound away at the weights and do only weight training and resistance training. Might need to balance out and do more mobility training and flexibility training. So when bro hits me up for the fifth time, or maybe just like workouts with Spencer,
Mhm.
I got to a point where I could say I could use that maybe once a week, twice a week. But for me to go out and do that every single day, maybe if I had a workout partner who's like, hey, we're gonna do this tough workout splits, push pull legs 6 days a week. Um, and then I start showing up for that. And then it's like, oh, well, he's like, you're a punk because you can't do it or you don't want to do it. It might not be what's best serving me. So I have to have that self compassion and self awareness to know what I need to do, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, just that separation of self and understand that you don't have to do something that it's not serving you.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Not giving into the societal pressure of it.
absolutely having that a strong enough self identity, self made identity that knows what. I don't mean to cut you off there, but just knows what is healthy for you and is willing to do it, making yourself a priority, essentially.
And it's not like a cop out, like it's not like I know that I should be doing what they're saying because it's better than what I'm doing or something. It's
Mhm.
like I know what I have to do as
Yeah.
opposed to just listening to what they're saying, kind of mindlessly and just going along with it because they're saying that it's cool or status quo or this is what you need to be doing.
Yup.
Kind of knowing within yourself this is what I need to be doing.
Mhm.
Kind of trusting yourself.
That intuition, knowing the guidance from within.
Yeah, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
train really hard Monday. I've trained really hard Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm super stiff and sore, like how I am right now. Bro could be like, "Hey, let's go and work out. You're a punk if you don't work out." It's like, you know what? I actually need a rest day today,
Yup.
so we're gonna focus on stretching and stuff like that.
Honestly, like, because everyone is different. So knowing yourself and being able to take it at your pace is the best way. Because even if both people start off on the same day, their muscle fatigue and recovery phase and everything and protein synthesis, all of it, yeah, everything is different. So it's just a matter of like you said, knowing yourself and then not giving into that narrative. And a lot of that too, yeah, it can be a lot of peer pressure when it's like your close buddies. Maybe it's your gym people that you're going with, right? But like at the same time, if you went to the gym and then got hurt because of it, then you're not going to the gym for the next, I don't know how many months anyway. So one day, be a punk, be whatever, but you're healthy, right?
coming back to fight the next day.
Yeah, exactly. You got the sensu beans now, and like you're ready to go. So,
So yeah, that's part of it. Push days versus flow days. When to know when to go, and
mm,
when to know when to take a slow. Sometimes you gotta hold them. Sometimes you gotta fold them.
dang, those bars right
You
there.
know. Um. So a lot of that I kind of base off of how I'm feeling and how I structure the workout. I had a strategy for me was like I'd start the week off really strong. Monday was generally like a hard training day. And then from there, I'd kind of digress throughout the rest of the week would be kind of easier. Um, but I noticed if I have too many of those push days in there, then it's like I'm not getting enough recovery. And then when I am showing up to that hard, challenging workout, I can't perform at the level that's required for it. And I don't feel like I'm getting a good workout of it. So I notice if I get more rest, I can show up on that push day with a lot of intensity, with a lot of
Mm,
focus, and get stronger at the skills and get better at the skills, which is what I actually want, as opposed to me showing up kind of tired and just kind of going through the motions and having a crappy workout. Um, Whereas if I notice, hey, the energy is a little lower today, maybe I could do cardio, improve my cardiovascular function, or do more mobility, see if I can get deeper into these stretches, which is going to in turn improve my overall athletic skills.
yeah, yeah,
Result from it. So that's what kind of flow I was going with for a long time. It's like Monday we started with a high intensity, ease into more recovery, and then maybe by Friday I can get back after it and do a hard workout.
I like that flow quite a bit. It's
And the rest of the weekend, like on Monday, I know for me, it takes about 2 or 3 days after a hard, intense workout for me to come back feeling refreshed.
yeah, yeah,
But
that's good.
every is going to be different. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I could say recovery is important.
Absolutely,
But
and underrated.
the other side, some people are going to be that go, go, go person who actually needs to move every single day and do something intense every single day. Um, they might have to go down that path for themselves and figure out what works best for them.
Mhm.
You know,
And even then, that's them knowing themselves. Because if they're in an environment where everyone else is not going to push like that,
maybe
then they just got to go.
stretching and yoga, that might not be the part where they need to fit in. Maybe they need to build more muscle mass. Doing yoga and stretching is not what they need. Maybe they're naturally flexible.
Mhm.
Maybe that's the workout that they don't really need. They're naturally good at.
Yeah. Yep. So, and that's where like the benefit of being at a place like Crunch, where you have a bunch of different classes you can try. So you can see where you're weaker. You can try different things and then be like, dang, I didn't even know that XYZ muscle group was as weak as it was or imbalanced or anything. So it's nice to have like ways that when you're testing yourself, not just sticking to a specific, I'm only doing this routine because it is this, but being open to other things, but also consistent enough to know yourself and then pushing for your own growth.
Yeah, and discipline it looks differently. Uh, discipline for me, it's not necessarily showing up and doing the very hard, intense workout. Maybe it's just showing up and doing that boring hour of mobility that I don't feel like doing. I'd rather be
Mm-hmm.
uh, maybe doing some intense training. Maybe this is the day I'm forcing myself to slow down, and that's me instilling that discipline to say, hey, you know what, we're going to fight through this boredom, and we're going to do an hour stretching or 10 minutes of meditation. It's challenging. Maybe the mind's racing. Maybe I don't feel like sitting down and doing this meditation. I'm going to force myself to do it. That's me kind of creating that inner monk and that inner tranquility, which I know I need. Um, and that's going to help me out overall, pushing through and I can negate the stress of whatever comes to today. I don't need to do any meditation, and then it builds up, and now I'm really stressed out.
Hell yeah. I like how, I mean, you finished with what you, all right. I like how you mentioned bringing in that inner monk. Because again, it brings back the concept we were talking about in the beginning. We got the chaotic, everything is going all over the place. And it's like, all right, we need to bring focus back. that inner monk, I almost in the day considered it like our wellness wizards, right? We're like magical here. We have the ability to bring forth anything as long as we're focused on it. So if you're really a wizard, you focus your energy, make the thing happen. So putting enough dedicated energy towards your goal, whatever it is, you're sitting down, an hour meditation, you don't want to do it, but it's like through sitting down and showing up to do the habit, even if it was 5 minutes first, you start to just build a better, almost like you're fighting tedium, because that mental fight to like start doing the action gets easier and easier and easier as you start to do it, as you start to like build that habit. So it's like fighting the tedium, showing up for yourself, doing those small actions, pouring into your cup, then makes it easier to do it. But it's all within you. You got to bring that inner focus back in your inner monk, inner wellness wizard, whatever we want to say, but direct your focused attention towards your goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes discipline to do the softer things as well, especially if you're that type A person who always go, go, go. You might have to force yourself to be disciplined to slow down and do more restorative practices. If you're that lazy person who is always on the slower side of things, maybe you need to push yourself and do more of them, more savage things. Get out there and do those 5 a.m. workouts. Get consistent in that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it's going to be related, but uh, all encompassing, you need both sides of that. Tranquil force and wrathful force and productive energy. You also need some of that downtime as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes me think of the quote, "Be like water."
Yes.
I always used to think of water as very tranquil and relaxing and flowing, kind of go with the flow. But I don't think that's what he meant by that. I think he meant, or be like water. Water's adaptable. So you've got water where it is tranquil in its natural state, resting. But you might go to a river and see that the water is flowing, it's crashing at times, like a tsunami. So be like water. Water can flow, water can crash. Be adaptable. You might at times in life need to crash out. You might at times need to be more calm and reflective. Like water in a stabilized state,
Mm-hmm.
being able to adapt and to flow throughout different, whether that's crashing or being trained.
I like that a lot too, because again, the water is such a fire analogy. We are 70% water anyway. So if we're being like water, we're being like what we're already made of. And we have the ability to be as the water we see. The rain, it can either be nice and soft and sprinkling down, or it can come down with wrath and it can cause some damage. So yeah. Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
Now it's
It'll snow almost. Mm.
um but yeah, that's push days, flow days. We also got here, aesthetics versus athletic versus longevity goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go with me?
I can talk about it. I've gone through phases of my training career where I was at one point training to be very athletic, training for performance, training for strength. Um, but then, I realized that that purpose has served me for a while, feeling good, feeling strong, um, feeling athletic. But then there's like a cutoff for the performance. You start to get like high performance, high performance, but then, overall health, your health bar is lower. Maybe you have a super high performance, but because you're under rested, you get sick super easy, or you're injuring yourself, or you're not as mobile, and you're not feeling as good in your body. Things your joints, your body is paining you.
Dang, yeah, that's common.
I've kind of shifted now. I try to balance the bar now. Where it's like, all right, I've got performance still, but I've also got longevity in play where it's like I feel good and I'm mobile, and I'm recovered before I'm getting back into training. So that way I can keep it going along. Um, then you got, people on the longevity side where it's like Maybe they're mitigating, maybe they're not training or doing certain things because it's super stressful to the body and they just want to preserve everything. But physically, they're not very fit or they don't look like they're very fit. Maybe like a marathon runner who's in really good shape, cardiovascular shape, but they're not very strong or able to perform, elite tasks or anything like that. So you kind of want to balance it out.
Mhm.
I-
I I would agree with that. You do have to go, and it's like a balancing dance because if you go too polar in one, you have the faults of that path. And it kind of goes down to, do you want to be healthy or do you want to be fit? And they say that the definition of healthy is at least someone who just gets like 30 minutes of basic exercise 3 to 5 times a week, versus fit is someone who increases their heart rate 60 minutes 3 times a week, 3 to 5 times a week for 60 minutes. So if you're doing that, you're now not just going to be the person who has longevity preserving and it's just doing. So now you have health and maybe putting a little bit of effort into that athletic or athlete ish because you're working towards being fit, right? But if you keep going in that direction, you overfill your athlete bar. Don't want to do that. We got to just continue staying fit. Don't go too polar fit, and just make sure we don't go back down to just a healthy where you're not really doing much anything.
Yeah, I've gone both ways. I think I was explaining it last time where it's like I was in powerlifting and how much weight can I lift on this bar and increase it every single week. Start getting injuries, things like that. I've gone into it where I was like, all right, I'm discontinuing all strength training and I'm only going to do walking and stretching and kind of experiment, see how far that got me.
Mhm.
And you need both. You need to balance it out. But I find that I'm shifting more towards longevity, especially as I'm aging.
Not bad. Not bad.
Things tend to slow down. In your 20s, you're amped up, you're young, you don't need a lot of sleep, you don't need a lot of recovery. The body recovery is very fast. You can crank out those workouts and go for performance, see how far you can go. Um, and it's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to know your limits um, on both sides. They kind of come to a concise balance things out. Um, but yeah, kind of more towards longevity. I value my health. I value my energy. If I'm shifting into performance too far, then the overall health quality goes down. Um, you're not feeling as good. You're not as vibrant, um, energy wise, because your body is overtaxed. So I like longevity. I want to live a long, healthy life. But I do want it to be functional.
Do you want to be fit for that longevity?
Yeah, yeah. To maintain the fitness as well. Yeah.
Good. That's good.
So yeah, a little bit, a bit of both worlds, but more longevity. Opposed to trying to preserve everything that I can while keeping. Doesn't have to be maximal.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Good amount of strength.
Yeah. You move your own body weight whenever you need to.
Yeah. Good posture. Good core strength. At least a lot of fundamentals I would like to.
Mm-hmm. As
What is it?
they like as you age, like people underwork their hips and they're doing a lot of like sitting and not seated to standing position. So then you have the restrooms with the handlebars so you can just get off the toilet. Do you want to be able to stand from the toilet without a handlebar? You have to continue some type of fitness throughout your life so then you're not reliant on tools around you to move.
Yeah. And I think you can train and find a healthy balance. Uh, a lot of the things that you think elderly people lack or that they're unable to keep, it's like hand-eye coordination, balance, core strength, um, just a general kind of athleticism, like hopping on one foot, balancing on one foot, these type of things. It doesn't require a lot of elite performance, and they're relatively easy things to train, and it's not going to tax the body a lot to do this. And it's performance based, but it's not like how much weight can I lift, um, and doing things very aggressively. It's kind of like slower, simpler things that you can do and you can keep and give you overall a better result.
Reminds me back. I 1 billion% agree because it reminds me back when I was studying, my personal training and group fitness stuff. They talk about how your elderly community, they still need balance and flexibility and mobility. Why? They may be playing with your grandchildren. They need the ability to, if they're going after the little ones, stop, or balance, or, they're walking and they might trip. So those little basic things, that's actually one of the first things they show us to like work on with people is the stability of the muscle, because obviously you want to work stability first and then that function. How does the muscle move and like the function of it before we start building the strength? So it's like you never want to lose that fundamental stability as you're aging. And as you're saying, those are things that you can keep as you just use it. I say in lifetime fitness stuff is just like if you don't use it, you lose it. So that hand-eye coordination, the balance, the flexibility and everything. It's just the people as maybe they reach the retirement age. So then their job, they don't have a job. They're not required to move in the way anymore. So then they don't. And then they're just maybe sitting around. They got hangouts, kids, sporting events, sitting, band concerts, sitting, grandkids sitting. They're seated a lot. They're not standing, running around. They're not doing a lot of activities that they normally do. And they're losing that base level of stability and flexibility.
Yeah, that's something interesting too. As I've noticed, I grew up in sports a lot. Agility and football and basketball; those are very important skills that I got from sports. Um, and as I get out here in the real world, I notice that there's a lot of people who maybe they never went to gym class at all. They worked on any of these like hand-eye coordination skills, balance skills, um, things like this that keep you kind of athletic. They don't have that as adults, or they didn't attain it in their youth, or as adults, they age much faster. Just due to the fact that they're uncoordinated, maybe they're falling around, injuring themselves and things like that, and sustaining injuries a lot quicker as someone who has had these things. If I go out there and I slip on the ice, it's like I'll be all right. I can catch myself with like reflexes,
Yeah.
like three layers of defense. Okay, it's like my feet give out. It's like all right, I can catch myself on my hands.
Knowing.
Base of it, maybe I can just fall flat safely. Whereas it's like all right, if I don't have any athletic capability at all and I just go and slip and fall, that's just like there's nothing to catch me, no hands, no stability, core wise. Now it's like I have an injury.
Yeah.
So some of the basic things can be very beneficial. Balance, hand-eye coordination, core strength doesn't require you a lot. Doesn't require a lot of like heavy lifting or things like that to just secure your safety overall.
Absolutely. And that's key to keep in mind as we're going through because it's like I also never thought about people that never had a gym class because yeah, I grew up and it was just like something we had immediately was like a PE class, even in like kindergarten, at least you're in the playground running around or doing something, right? So yeah, having that foundation, the ability to, you're running in one direction, you quick turn and you're not gonna break your ankles, right? Like it's nuance that those little skills, how they translate over in everyday life, but they're needed and necessary. Hey,
And not to be overlooked, that's the thing too. If you're just training for, strength, maybe that person who you never received any of the athletic capabilities, balancing or anything, but then getting into strength building and powerlifting, But you cannot run correctly. You know, your gait is limited, your flexibility is limited, your balance is limited. You know, you get an injury and then that kind of takes you off your fitness path. And now you don't have the strength or any of the basic things fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
You could have gotten into some of the more fundamental things like balance training, agility training, things that don't take a lot of power or strength, and you have an overall better base for just getting around living day to day.
Mm. I was thinking something and I totally just lost the thought. Hopefully it comes back. We were talking about some balance and mobility, and I was like, oh, this would be great to add on. And I was like,
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well, hopefully I was gonna add it. I was like, damn, just slipped. But
But yeah, I find that training for athleticism, as opposed to say like the bodybuilding physique and trying to build your physique as much as you can, uh, it's going to give you more of a stable base to build upon, and it's funner. You'll feel better in your body, even if you don't look as aesthetically pleasing. Having a base level of athleticism is going to allow you to move around a lot better, and it's going to create a better quality of life. So try to incorporate both of those things,
that's what it
aesthetics
is.
and athletics,
That's what it was. Yeah.
while being able to stay longevity.
Like the longevity I feel is the byproduct of the consistency. And that's what I was gonna get at was I think that a lifelong journey of doing these things will give you the byproducts, say, of longevity if we do like that 20% of things, right? So 20% of the things that we do will give us 80% of the results. So in the 20% of my workout routine that I've changed up throughout this entire time to be more like longevity for myself. So it's like a full body workout. And then I have moves like the pistol and the dragon, which allow me to build that mobility and flexibility as well as strength because I can slow it down and do things with tempo. So playing with tempo, I can slow down motions, increasing my muscular strength and the ability to like push into the range and everything too. Um, the movements that I pick, we have like things like the greatest stretch ever with also the dragon and the pistol, and then a pull up hanging from the bar, um, a Cossack squat, lunge, stuff like that. So the movements that I pick are lifestyle movements for functionality that also then add time and tension in held positions. So with all three of those, I feel like I'm building longevity because now my body has volume plus time doing the same actions over time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And anything that you do consistently, you're gonna get better at. Um, I think that's an issue too. Is people try something and then they're not good at it, so they just stop doing it. It's like I can't do a dragon squat, so I just never tried it at all.
Mm.
But uh, a lot of these complex movements are agility ladders. That's something that's very frustrating for adults. I see it's like they've never gone down this path of how do you put your feet where you want them to be, or how do you move in a certain pattern. It can be frustrating, but you know, practicing, build that base, get the volume, hand-eye coordination increases, and then eventually you can do it.
I like that. When even the agility ladders, I hadn't thought so much about that because I don't really teach so much in the hit zone as much, but like you do, so you'll see a lot more of it. The agility ladders and how you position your feet when you are going through this and having your feet go where you want them to go in the time frame and you're stepping fast is similar to dancing. So it's like these concepts of the coordination in the gym are like almost the so you think you can't dance class, right? Because it's like once you build up these base level things, you can almost put it to music. That's what aerobics and aerobic exercise was like almost dancing in a sense because you got the music and you're moving your body to the beat. So you almost can turn dance, which is something that you should be able to do for a lifestyle or a lifelong thing from young to old, to part of your workout at least. And that's coordination, that's balance, that's agility, that's some, at least the base level of strength to hold yourself up, and then maybe getting low or one leg and stuff like that. So as long as you at least have the ability to dance lifelong, you should be healthy.
True. True. Yeah, dancing is support. Then you'll be able to get jiggy as well.
Yeah, old, like 90, like on the dance floor, like Mr. Bean, that one. Maybe you've seen him back in the day. Yeah, getting out there, getting down.
Quality of life, a little rhythm keeps you young.
Yup.
Um, and then injuries do happen. People get injured. You know, it's important to be able to disconnect from that identity that you have as, say, this sports career star, NFL player, maybe high school pro football player. Um, Maybe you're injured now and you cannot do that anymore. It's important to keep the faith and then to understand, even though maybe my body is unable to function in the way that it did, doesn't mean that I have to give up on my passion completely. Maybe I can pivot into something else without holding on to that same identity. Maybe you were a rock star in a band and something happened, you fell off of it. Maybe you can still be a part of that music industry. Maybe it doesn't have to be you being the rock star. Maybe it can be you coaching the rock stars. Or you can help them with their instruments, or even selling instruments. Still be a part of the craft without being in it, being the craft. You'll hear that a lot within like sports careers. NFL's notorious. People go out there, uh, they get these college contracts, they get rich, they play their sport that they dreamed of since childhood, and they are this person in their minds, this NFL player, this is all they're going to be. And then they injure themselves, and then they just lose all hope, and they can't piece back the pieces to shift into something else, you know. So I think that's important to be able to disconnect from what you are currently, and then able to say, "Hey, I can shift into this. I still have value. Shift into this space, maybe providing value, doing something differently, and not being the guy."
Mm. That's huge. That's almost a whole episode of itself, because like in that, it's a lot to unpack, because we, again, like I was saying earlier, we're building an ego. We build this version of who we are, and then it becomes like us. It's what we know, it's what we breathe, it's what we're known for. And then all of a sudden you have like that life situation, similar to how I was, in college, and I was doing all my sports and everything. And then we were doing like college Wednesdays, going to Sky Zone every week. And then I tore my ACL, PCL, MCL, LCL, the bone fracture, meniscus tear, had to get the 2 separate surgeries. And then the doc is all like, most people that have this type of injury, they'll never be an athlete, or like they never recover fully. So, you'll be able to do things, but you're never going to be like what you were before. And I was like, I don't believe it. So like, but that in itself, if I didn't like stuck with that identity of like, dang, this was my path and everything, in that ego, it would have broke me and killed me. But I also was like, I had a lot of things that I was always carrying on my plates at that time. So I wasn't in just one mindset. Like, this wasn't my only path. It wasn't my only thing. But I feel like that the skill set, though, to be able to day by day recognize the things that you're crafting up to be your identity, but making it where if these things are stripped away, they did not define who you were. Because that's ultimately the key. And that's what I hear you're saying, is because like injuries happen. And if you get injured, regardless of what happened there, you're still the man, but you're not maybe the man of that thing. You know, you're still you, but you just, those things do not define the you, and you still have value, like you're saying there. It's just defined differently now. And you can either be the person who was doing these things now and guide, or shift entirely, just put something else on, be you're you. Point start from that point. But the things don't make you. You make you.
You always have the ability to define yourself. You always have the ability to redefine yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, and to design your life, you can design it. You can course correct. Things change. People go to school for 4 years to do a college degree, and then they come out and then there's no job market and they have to pivot into something else. I've seen people who go to school to become lawyers and now they do aerial acrobatics. Things change. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be you following a set course because that's what people believe you to be. You can always change what aspects of your life you'd like to change, the path you'd like to go down. So
Absolutely. So, and also again, if you do decide like you get on a path and then like you're like that's not it, forgive yourself for the path. Like you went down, you didn't waste your time. You still learned, you discovered, you grew in that aspect, and now you're just carrying this experience bar to the next level, and that's it. So, like a lot of people, I feel like they beat themselves up when they go down a certain path too long, and then they realize that it's time for a change, and they get caught in the sunken cost of that decision, and don't jump to the next thing. And then they're like, "Well, I just got to keep riding this one out because I did it this far." And, in reality, you can just, hey, I came this far. I'm seeing a different path that I kind of like to explore. I'm going to just try it. Just give it a shot. And like he says, just do it. Go try it and like forgive yourself for that time that you spent. Don't beat yourself up for that time. It's just a part of the journey.
yeah, you'll see that. People are like, yeah, what's 4 years to be in business, to be a lawyer, and then they get into lawyer career life, and then they're like, I actually hate this. I'd much rather be a personal trainer. But they're like, you know what? I've gone in this career path so long. Uh, you know, it'd be a waste of all the education, and then my parents paid for me to go and pursue a different path. But at the end of the day, you have to make the choices that uh, best serve you.
Uh-huh.
What uh, fulfill you best. You have to make the best choice for you. Even relationships, you see people be married for so long and they're like, yeah, I was with this person for the kids, but maybe they're just a really horrible person to be with. There's actually no, it's not serving you to actually be with that person. It's not increasing your quality of life or anything.
Uh-huh.
You're just doing it for other people, but you're not doing it for yourself. Uh, that's an important thing to think about. Uh, Serving yourself first. You're the most important person in your life.
Uh-huh.
You can't be uh, subjected to serving other people because you feel like you owe them this or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you can be a little bit selfish. Make yourself priority.
Yeah, yes, sir. Like we even talked about back when we were first getting started with the Fill Your Cup podcast. You can't pour from an empty cup. So you got to fill yours up and then you're able to pour from that cup to others. But if you're always pouring and then you got nothing else to pour from, what are you pouring into them?
Uh, Negative.
Yeah, you're taking. Yeah. So,
Um, and then yeah, spin back around. Come back to the whole nutrition, fitness segment. Um, Bulking with intention.
mhm.
Uh, see a lot of people out there, a lot of skinny people, a lot of skinny guys, people who want to build mass, go down this approach of bulking like a dirty bulk, where they're just eating anything that they can to get their hands on more calories. to improve their aesthetic physique to build more mass, but you want to do it with intention. You don't want to gain a bunch of body fat when you bulk. You don't want to damage your health after bulking, or now you got yourself in a situation where you're type 2 diabetic, but um, all for physique wise, you decrease your overall health bar. So when it comes to bulking, I would suggest like a lean bulk. You know, increase your calories slightly. Doesn't have to be super dramatically. Get in the gym, train hard, because that's going to be a big determining factor of how much energy your body is going to accept is how much energy you're exerting. If you're training very hard, that's naturally going to increase your appetite. So that's a good place to start. Increase the intensity of your training, uh, as opposed to trying to force feed yourself into bulk.
I've never dirty bulked because I never wanted to. But I've seen it, and like actually I can't say never. Like the closest I ever did was a small phase when I worked at as a manager at Planet, and I'd see how like sometimes Phil he'd come and have like two Hungry Howie's pizzas and eat those, and then also still be eating more meals and have his protein powder and his workouts, and he'd come in, he's shredded, right? So I'm like, dang, okay, he's killing it. So then I'd be like, well, I got all these workouts that I'm doing, and like I at the gym living there basically because like I'm doing the 8 hour shifts that I'm normally responsible for, but then also doing like doubles where I got like 16-hour shifts in a day. So I'm like basically just living at the gym, and then I'll do my workouts late at night after and go home, sleep, and repeat. So all day I'm just lifting weights, putting them up and everything too. So it's just like constant working out. So then I'd increase my calories like crazy. Going to work, I'd have some meal from maybe either um it was at the time Culver's, Wendy's, tropical smoothie, or one other place. I would just get like a chicken sandwich and like smoothie or something like that. Going in, then lunch. I remember grabbing like sometimes a pizza from that same Hungry Howie's that was in our parking lot, or some big meal from same places, the Wendy's, Culver's, tropical smoothie. Like, so it was just crazy. And then I just have this massive like caloric increase, but it was not like McDonald's burgers. It was like I'd still eat kind of cleaner because it was like chicken in a sense, but like it was still dirty because it wasn't like eggs and better things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but I was at least not just, oh yeah, I just need calories. So let me get these pies and these smoothie or these milkshakes from McDonald's and these double quarter pound. No, it was like, nah, I'm gonna get chicken sandwiches and then the pizza, and that was a lot, but I worked those calories in, and I definitely have the images. I was bigger, but now I'm more functional and I'm more shredded. So I like now better than then. And it's way cleaner now how I work out and everything. It might be one really nice dense meal a day, or if I do have something in the day, I'll have something still protein based or denser throughout the day. If I'm snacking, it's probably a protein based snack. And I do know we had an episode we were talking about like gas station snacks and stuff too. Uh if I do go to a gas station for a snack, it's you go to the section where it's all the protein based snacks, and then you look at it and you're comparing and contrasting. You grab the back of them, and I look at the sugar, and I'm like, all right, so this one doesn't have any added sugar, but it's got a decent amount of protein. So based on protein, sugar, and then calories, if it's got low calories, nice protein, low sugar, it's a decent snack. So then that'll be the snack that I'll do. But other than that, it's just been if I want to bulk, it's got to be nice and clean, increase my volume, increase the weight just a little bit over time progressively. And yeah, that's the most functional way to do it.
At the base level of it, I think it's important. As humans functioning, we want optimal performance. You want to kind of train yourself to be a healthy eater. In America, Western world, there's lots of tasty, palatable foods, which are very addictive, very addicting. And if you get yourself in the cycle of, all right, I'm dirty bulking, it's okay. I can eat these donuts and ice cream and throw some protein powder in there and go hit the weights and build my muscles big. Um, weighing more isn't always a good predictor of health. I don't think it's a good predictor of health at all. Because the more you weigh, it makes your body hard to move around, especially if a lot of that's body fat. Um, it's not going to be metabolically functioning tissue. It's not muscle mass. Um, a lot of it probably would, but a lot of it probably be body fat as well if you're going in a surplus and lots of calories, lots of fat, carbs. Even the extra protein is going to accumulate to body fat. Um, and that's not going to it's going to put you in the overweight obese category, higher triglycerides, blood issues, blood testing and things like that are also an issue. So take a cleaner approach to it. If you're bulking, I think that's going to be the best result. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how about cutting?
Yeah. Cutting. I think it's better than bulking.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to eat a lot. It's work really hard, get kind of fat, build more muscle.
Yeah.
Cutting and being shredded uh I think it takes a little bit of a different approach to discipline. Um Telling yourself no, telling yourself that you're kind of being on the hungrier side a little bit. There's a little bit more strategy that you have to evoke when it's coming to like managing your calories, making sure that you're getting enough protein in while on a limited calorie regimen.
Mhm.
And I think it's kind of a better feeling being a little bit hungry, uh, kind of staying in that cut or close to maintenance where you're not like overfilling yourself, but kind of staying lean and kind of staying empty and kind of staying a little bit sharper mentally, less inflammation in the body. They've done studies where they've got like rats and they put them on a calorie restrictive diet. The rats live longer as their calories are restricted. Which is why like intermittent fasting, you kind of tap into that state of calorie restriction, but then you get to refeed as well, and you kind of get that restriction on your diet while not necessarily being in a calorie restriction or starving yourself. So kind of maintain while getting the benefits of calorie restriction. So intermittent fasting is great, and that's a way that I cut without, failing into the scarcity where it's like, oh, I'm not able to enjoy these foods. Maybe I am able to enjoy these foods, but just within a time window when it's eating time. And then you can enjoy all the foods that you want. It's not going to be like a whole day of eating donuts. It can be like a donut within the feeding window and making sure that it's not all of my calories coming from donuts because that wouldn't be any protein. That's going to not give me a good body composition. If a lot of calories are coming from carbs, that's kind of defeating the purpose.
Yeah. Another thing that may help people with that, because like, yes, it does defeat the purpose as you introduce certain things to your like diet that offsets everything, but also thinking and having a mental like timeline all the time that's active in your brain. Then that timeline just being like, hey, so if my 24-hour window, if your goal is, let's say, a 2,000 calorie a day base, and you're trying to cut down let's just say 500 for easy math's sake, but 500 calories a day off. So you're 1,500 calories a day max, right? So you got 5 days this week that you had 1,500 calories, and then 2 days a week that you hit 2,000. So then in my mind, you were good day by day by day for 5 days, and then you had those 2 off days. But now if we just expand that scale out of the 7 days, that would be a total of how many calories added up times 7. And then what was the 500 times 7? Well, you only had 1,000 over. So out of that, you're technically over, you're good for that timeline. So now if we just look at these timelines, are we good? And maybe you went over for that week. Now you got to work harder for that month. But like you just expand you make your timelines and then you're always working within that. So it's like, I know what I did here. So I earn it here, 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 and here. So you can continue to earn and not beat yourself up, if that makes sense. You don't have to work super hard in one day. You can just have a week where now I have to be super strict. Nope, I can't have a cheat day this week because I didn't earn it because I did something that week. So you just sacrifice one, you just moved it from one week to another.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like the comfort versus the savage life, that's why I like fasting. It kind of creates that level of, savagery where it's like, all right, I can't really eat anything or reward myself until I've gone out in the world. Uh, uh Maybe I've had to kill a meal. I had to secure this food somehow. I had to go out into the world and hunt, produce some type of value, whether it be working, a workout. Um, and then I'm able to give myself the satisfaction of, hey, I've had some success. Now I can eat. Now I enjoy that meal. So that's kind of nice. Um, so yeah, and then on the other side, if you're just constantly comforting yourself with food, waking up eating food, uh, that's kind of soft.
Yeah, very, very, yeah. Yeah.
It's also going to build a physique that's very soft, and if you don't have food, your blood sugar levels are going to be crashing, and you're going to need sugar all the time. That can be distracting for the mind as well. If you're constantly needing some food or some type of stimulation to get forward,
Oh,
that's gonna be hindering your progress as well.
I believe we did talk about that too, how especially your body does a billion processes all at once that we're unaware of all the time. And if it's constantly processing food and digestion, you're not able to use that same energy in other ways that your body's just not optimized. So you're not able, it creates that brain fog and everything else as a byproduct of that soft life. So it's like, dang, one thing leads right to the other. And then all of a sudden it's like, it comes down to a decision that we make every day. Like, if I choose this thing, these things are going to become byproducts of it. Is it worth it? And then we make a decision.
Yeah. And sometimes it is maybe worth it, that extra snack or that extra whatever it is. But then, hey, tap into it the next day and say, hey, I'm going to reduce my calorie load by the food that I overate a certain amount, or
Exactly.
hours for fast. Like today is the day before Thanksgiving. I'm probably going to eat a little lighter today, so that way I can enjoy the feast tomorrow and eat a lot or a decent amount at least.
You can break your fast with a nice meal.
Yeah, yeah, and then if you track it, you can manage it. It doesn't have to be where it's like I'm feeling super hungry all the time, and not feeling like I'm nourished or anything. Getting those foods in there that you enjoy within your eating window is fine as long as you're not going over the calories. Um, where it gets tricky is like, all right, maybe you're on a Friday night and you fasted all day and then you ate all your calories and then your friends invite you out and they're like, hey, we're going for drinks and more food, and people are offering you food, and now you have to stick to uh your diet and things like that. That can be kind of difficult. But it's worth it, if you make it to yourself and you understand, hey, I've had, I don't know, what's a late night sneak, like insomnia cooking. Uh, but have you ever had six pack shredded abs and glowing skin, trim waistline? Probably not as much. So you can make a decision to have something that you had before, insomnia cookies, or six pack shredded abs for your photo shoot. I don't know. You got some type of goal in mind next summer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Your flexing posts on after you go to the gym.
I mean, shoot, you want to look good, right? So, yeah.
Sticking to what you want in the moment. Uh, Thinking long term about it, that can get you where you want if you think about it. that context.
That's why they also say, and a lot, I sound like a broken record when I repeat a lot of this stuff, but it's like what you think about grows, and it's so prevalent because if you're constantly more or less, let's say, thinking about that fitness attribute, is the fitness the body aesthetic that you want, right? So if that is the primary burning desire that you have and you're thinking about that all the time, it is going to be the backdrop thought to like the things that you do. So now if I'm going about and I'm hanging with my friends and like they do invite you out to go eat and everything, but then that invitation is brought up to the mind, and then the mind says, let's check that with this goal. This goal now is saying, hey, if I do that, this is going further away. I don't really want to do that, so I'm not going to do that. Right? So now, but you have to constantly think about it, because if that goal is not in the forefront of that mind, or like it's not constantly being thought about or reminded, that goal, yes, I want it, I wish for it, but I'm not doing things actively daily that are moving me towards it because I'm accepting things that are literally pushing it away from me and I'm not thinking about it. So the things we think about grows as we bring awareness and attention to your bank account and you're constantly looking at the numbers in the account. You may spend less frivolously. You might like, oh, I'm not going to go buy that Starbucks coffee today. I'm going to do something else. I'm not going to go buy this thing that is on sale, which is just another opportunity for me to spend money. It's still me spending money. It's not a sale. But like, so I'm not going to do this because it takes me further away from this goal that I want. New car, new house, new whatever. So we build up towards the things that we want and we constantly think about it, and then you can get it, but you have to constantly think about it.
Yeah, and then to weigh it on the rewards and the reward center and then the pain center. If you have no idea, like, hey, I don't want to get shredded, or you're not thinking about that, then yeah, donuts sound great. It's just infinite pleasure. But if you connect that and say, hey, I want to get in shape, and that's going to be very pleasurable. And then if I'm eating these donuts, which is pleasurable in the moment, maybe that's actually painful for the long-term result, because when I look up in the mirror and I'm like not shredded and I'm not looking how I want to, that's kind of
Mhm.
dissatisfactory. And I think about eating those donuts. Maybe that's kind of painful actually, because it's taking me farther away from my goal. Um, so to kind of weigh out things like that, maybe the pain of getting up at 4 a.m. to go get your workout in because it's the only time that you have time to do your workout. Uh, Maybe that sucks in the moment. But if you can think about the reward that you're going to receive after you get the dopamine hit from working out and feeling accomplished and you're getting close to your result, that's actually what we want. Um, Maybe you can start to attribute pleasure with the feeling of waking up early and getting after it, and pain with actually giving in and sleeping in and not doing what you know you should be doing.
The pleasurable actions ultimately flip to become the thing that is painful.
That is actually a pleasure for me to feel this locked in and feel this discipline and feel a sense of accomplishment that I did stick to my calorie deficit, and uh, this is a better feeling that I'm getting from this as opposed to
Yeah.
eating donuts and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yes.
kind of painful actually.
I like that. It's kind of like also tying into, we mentioned newbie gains before. Like someone who's just beginning to go to the gym, like they are going to start to see those results and then start to like it. So maybe at first they hated it, they didn't like it, they felt uncomfortable, they're embarrassed to go, they don't know how to work the machines, and there's like a billion reasons why they don't want to go to the gym. Now they're going, they've gone for at least like say 14 days, 2 weeks, and now they're seeing a little bit of like definition when they flex that tricep. So now they love going over to the tricep extension and they go, oh yeah, they're pushing down on the tricep extra hard. And they're like, oh yeah, you see. And now they're taking pride in what they're building. And so they start to find little joys and pleasure in the showing up instead of the avoidance of it. And if they miss it, now it's like, dang, I missed that opportunity to do this thing that I really enjoy. But you only get that.
It's almost like it flips. It's like at first it's like, going to the gym sucks. And it's like, all right, man, my triceps, I can see my definition on my muscles. And then you get to a certain point, and you're like, oh, this actually feels really good to do this. I enjoy going to the gym. And then say,
Yeah.
if I don't go to the gym, oh man, now that sucks. That's painful actually, but it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
You need that initial discipline to get going into it. You actually need the initial motivation to get into it, get going, and then once you get to a certain point, discipline kind of takes over, and then it makes it more rigid to be locked in, and you don't need this motivation as much. And it's like if I'm going the opposite way, I actually get the opposite result. What I would have got saying skipping the gym, like, oh yeah, skipping the gym. Yeah, I don't want to go to the gym. It's like, man, I missed the gym. It's like, no, I didn't do my hour of stretching or working out today. I can't check off that box. That's a problem. You can't
Mm-hmm.
think about it.
All right. He's like, you got that itch for the gym. Ah.
You have to go to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people it's like, oh man, I dread going to the gym. You know, it's just the flip of the switch. Once you get there, go along that path far enough. It's like, yeah, I can't get enough of it now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up the last bit of this episode, do we want to chat anything about eating for like hormone balance and like sustained energy?
Okay. Hormone balance and sustained energy. Uh, when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to increasing your health, a lot of it is going to be hormone based. The body kind of uses these hormones and it needs things in balance. And a good way to keep these things in balance is to eat the foods that your body needs. A lot of people don't know that the body needs certain things to operate hormonally, but it's very important. One of those things is going to be having enough fat in your diet. Fat from omega 3s, fat from omega 6s. These are a lot of the healthy fats that the brain needs, that the body needs, the joint needs in order to operate and maintain homeostasis. A lot of times, bodybuilding diets, especially, they're notorious for like this low fat diet. And that's not good. That's going to create a lot of inflammation. Um, it's going to create the body storing a lot of water weight that can lead to, brain fog because your
Mm.
brain, your body, your joints not getting enough of the nutrients that it's made of. And you need those nutrients. You need that lubrication, that fat in between your joints. You need that for your brain to function optimally. So, having more fat in your diet, I would say, if you're having a 2,000 calorie diet, 30-40% of that should be coming from healthy fats. Um, and then that's another thing with the bodybuilding diet is like having a lot of protein is actually bad for your testosterone levels.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, having this, 1 pound per 1 gram per pound of uh, body weight is actually not a good idea. It's probably closer to 25% of your overall calories should be coming from protein. For me, that's like 132 grams, 135 grams. That's like the perfect spot. I've gone higher, like 200 grams of protein per day, 175. It might feel good, and it's a good boost initially, especially if you're on a fat loss diet. You have a lot of body fat to lose, going super high protein like that. But over time, um, it's quite difficult for the body to break all that protein down. And then, like I said, it's detrimental for the testosterone levels, especially. I know with guys, especially, that's the thing, is like eating a lot of protein.
Mm.
And it can be detrimental to your testosterone levels, which is like the fire blood of for men. We need that. We need those hormones to be balanced. And then for women, especially too, hormonal issues. That's something that's going to be important, especially for the distribution of body fat. Body fat's actually, it's an organ and it plays off of the hormone system. Having your hormones in balance is going to be important for your body to balance those things out so that you're getting the result that you want. Um, and then, food wise, good choices here. Red meat, good for the hormones. Fatty cuts of, fish, omega 3s, healthy fats like coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil. These are all going to be things that you want to include in your diet, at least a little bit. So that way the body's getting what it needs. Um, and yeah. So red meat, steak, ground beef, uh, eggs, avocados. Those are all going to be things that are good for the hormones.
Mhm.
And then you want to avoid stress as well. At least being able to manage the stress. Um, not putting yourself in a situation where you're super emotionally stressed out and super physically stressed out for a berated amount of time. That's going to create a lot of stress within the body. Cortisol, that's going to break down. Testosterone is going to leave you in a depleted state. So managing stress, not drinking as much coffee, not taking as much stimulants, getting more rest, uh, getting more mental rest. Giving yourself and your mind time to reset through journaling, through meditation, through going for a long walk. Uh, Dopamine detoxes, not being constantly entertained via social media, via YouTube, via Netflix. Um, giving the body time to rest, giving the mind time to rest, so that you can come down out of that stress state, allow the hormones to rebalance out. Um, can be beneficial.
Like a dopamine detox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. It's like we don't realize it, but especially in the city, the world we live in is hyperly competitive for things that are competing for our attention. And because there's so many things competing for your attention, whether it be the noise of a radio and the news and things in your social media, smartphones, everything, it can be so much going on that in this modern day age that the mind has all this data. It's processing it all the time. And it's like you just need a break sometimes. Just like pause, let your body process, mind process, and just silence. Sit with your thoughts and meditate and get tuned back to just like not the noise. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I think I was feeling like that like last night. I was on Instagram. I was really tired. It's a long day. And there's people on Instagram messaging me stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to respond to any of this. I'm just going to turn this off and put this phone down and just kind of sit here in silence for a second. Think about whatever my mind wants to think about, not distractions and being entertained, seeing what's on TV.
Mhm.
Kind of rebalancing out. And then I'll come back to it when I have time and the energy for it.
And I think another thing too about that in general, that's everyone can do that, but it's not done. Just taking that time for themselves. Like you're not so busy you can't take 5 to 10 minutes to just tune out the world for that 5 minutes. Just for yourself to just have 5 simple minutes to sit there. You got 5 minutes, you're in the restroom, on the toilet. Take that 5 minutes. Don't bring your phone. Just sit. Like get a reset. But like you don't need constant stimulation. We see all the time people are just again, and even in the gym, like waiting on the class, they're on the phone and scrolling. Like in that time, I'm often in the class. I'll come into the room if I'm taking it as a participant. Maybe I had my headphones on, but now it's time to get present and get back into like this mode. We're in this room, heats up. We're gonna sit here. We're gonna sweat. Take my headphones out here. Just ground yourself in the reality.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's important. You might think that you're doing these things, relaxing, watching Netflix, or watching YouTube videos, or absorbing some new information, or on TikTok, Instagram, scrolling on your work break while you're like, yeah, this is my break. I'm getting time to like decompress, but it's actually not giving the mind any time to rest. You may think these things are restorative, but they're not. The mind's still active, absorbing this information that whatever it is that you're watching on screen, on TV, and you're not actually giving your mind time to process what needs to process. So, doing restorative practices, going for a walk with no headphones, no music, no social media, keeping your phone in your pocket, just walking, breathing. Whether that's maybe you're just sitting down in a dark room by yourself, maybe a little bit of music, maybe some meditation music. I find those practices to be much more restorative than like scrolling on Instagram. Then it's time to go back to work. And it's like, I don't feel rested at all.
Mm. I would like to leave our viewers and listeners with a challenge. And the challenge for them comes from the book, The Alchemist. And the challenge is from in the chapter when there's a boy who meets a king, and the king introduces the boy and invites him into his kingdom. And he's like, hey, I want you to hold this spoon of oil and go around my castle and check out the estate, but make sure you don't drop the oil, right? So as he goes through the castle and he's checking out things, he's so fixated on the oil on the spoon that when he comes back and meets the king says, hey, did you see the garden that my gardener spent 10 years on? Did you see the fine arts and all these things? And the boy said no, because he was so fixated on that spoon. So the challenge is to now go back out there throughout your life as you hear this podcast right now and try to find things that you missed in your day to day because you were fixated on other things. So we're so focused on the mundane and things that we're used to doing that we miss things, beautiful things all around us, or abundant things. So let's bring our awareness away from what we're normally focused on and find something new in this upcoming week.
I like that. I like that. A new intention, a new week, bringing it back into focus, something new.
Mm-hmm.
20% that you're not focused on.
Mm-hmm.
And to shift away from the 80% of what you've been doing. Focus on the 20% that's going to get you the bulk of results that you want.
Go. Yes.
While enjoying it all.
Still enjoy the journey, but just bring your awareness now to a new place. Yeah. So I'd say that's a great way to wrap it. Just again, I just wanted to give you all a little challenge to go forth this week with and see what we find.
Venture throughout the castle. Only spill a little bit of oil, but see everything.
I will say in the story too, he gets back to the king and all the oil's gone, but he saw everything. So maybe in this week, after we come back to this, you're like, man, all of my things I focused on, I didn't focus on any of them, but I did all these new things and look at what came from it. So who knows? But great challenge just to see. We'll see what happens. Don't get fired. Don't, like I say that, like, don't forget to focus on the things that matter. Like show up to your job. Don't like, you know, you have a kid, you leave him at school. Like, you know, like,
I'll spill all the oil.
yeah. You get some important oil, keep that oil, but find some awareness on some things you didn't see.
All right, guys. With that, another episode. Professor IllWill signing out. Be the wave of change that you want to see in the world. We got Tyler from this over here.
Making yourself a priority, helping open-minded individuals make themselves a priority, turn those talents and skills into income, and then leveling it up with the BYOB, becoming your own bank. Come see me. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Here we go. Signing out, guys.
Ashay.